I shared the journey. And I think it's so important for entrepreneurs, people in this space, is to be able to share your journey, be vulnerable, share where you started, share where you want to go, because people can resonate and connect. And it's like every day I'm inspiring somebody with my story. I don't care. I will get on here without my makeup on and y'all gonna get what y'all gonna get, because 90% of women are the same way. Like, we all are waking up with a face full of beautiful makeup and, hair perfect all the time. And I feel like being able to be vulnerable, especially in the position I am, helps other women feel confident to be vulnerable as well. And I think that's the ultimate purpose for me, is just being able to show other women what's possible and make other women confident and inspired to do what they want to do. Hey, this is Dayna Bolden, and you're listening to Dreams and Drive.
Hey, Dream Drivers, welcome to episode 276 of the Dreams and Drive podcast. I am so excited to be back in the driver's seat. It is my promise to deliver a new episode every Monday for the rest of the year. So stay tuned for all the amazing stories and dreams that we are going to be discussing and being encouraged from. And today's guest is one of my faves, Dayna Bolden, who's an entrepreneur and lifestyle blogger based in Atlanta. Dayna is the creative director of DaynaBolden.com and the CEO of Bolden Creative Media. The digital marketing maven has worked with brands such as Nike, VH1, Disney, H&M, and more. And she truly embraces the core values of authenticity, hard work, and passion, and has built a loyal community of engaged millennial women that look to her for lifestyle, beauty, and business advice. I'm really excited to have Dayna on the show to share her story and really encourage us about how we can put our dreams into drive. And if you enjoy this episode, or if you're new to the show, please make sure that you're sharing it. You can find us across social media at Dreams and Drive on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Use the hashtag Dreams and Drive when sharing as well. And if you really enjoy this episode, repost it to your Instagram stories. Right now, I'm finding that's the best way for new people to learn about the show. And that's the best way for you to share and show your support. So I appreciate when you guys go on Instagram, post this to your Instagram stories, and tell other people what you're listening to right now. All right, so let's hear from Dayna.
Hello. I'm excited to be here.
I am excited to have you on. As we were chatting before the show started, our paths have crossed prior to this. You've been a listener of the podcast. I was able to interview you for X on a Call. So it's kind of so, it's nice to now that we're on this platform and you're going to be able to share your story.
Yes, I'm super excited to be a part of it and honored, of course.
So I love to start our interviews going back in time, right? I think it's really important to reflect on who we were as children. And now that, you have your own children, I have a son now. So it's really interesting to see how this plays out in real life, right? When you were a child, what was inspiring you? Like, what was the younger Dayna thinking she was going to be in this world?
Oh my gosh. The younger Dayna thought she was going to be a doctor.
Okay.
I don't know why. I think back when I was in middle school, I just thought that was just the highest level of success, right? It's like, oh my God, a doctor. But I also was an avid athlete. I played basketball all my life. I was really into sports, from basketball to track to volleyball. I did it all. So I was into the sports lane, but also I knew I wanted to be successful. I just knew I wanted to make money. I wanted to be successful. So at that time when I was young, I'm thinking, okay, doctor, that sounds great, So yeah, I think that was the younger me.
Where did you grow up?
So I'm originally from Cleveland, Ohio.
Okay. Because I know that you went to the University of New York at Buffalo, right? So you ventured onto the East Coast and upstate a little bit.
Yeah. As I was, like I said, I played basketball. So that was my sport all my life. So I knew that in order for me to get to college, I was going to have to get a scholarship. So I worked my ass off, played basketball, was able to get a scholarship. And the University at Buffalo in New York, that was a college that was really attractive to me because it wasn't too far from home in Cleveland, but it also gave me that big college experience. It was a Division I school, and I just loved everything that University at Buffalo had to offer. So that's how I made my way over to the East Coast after graduating high school.
So this is something that I love to ask people, because I know me going into college, I thought I knew what I wanted to do. I thought, this is how my life is going to be. What was your thoughts going into college? And then how did that pan out for you once you got into the real world?
Girl, so when like I said, I thought I wanted to be in the medical world. So like obviously when I was a child, I thought I wanted to be a doctor, but then when I went to high school, I thought that I wanted to be like in sports medicine, still marrying my love for sports, but also still trying to hold on to that medical field. So once I graduated high school, and my major at the time was something, I had to major in like chemistry, of course, to be in.
Who likes chemistry?
Girl, I quickly found out that this was not for me. I was like, oh, chemistry. Ooh, this is hard. Like the stuff I had to do in college, I quickly changed my major because I'm like, I am not about to be nobody's medical anything because I just did not enjoy chemistry and it was hard and I wasn't good at it. So I changed my major my sophomore year of college to business. And at that point, I was like, okay, I know I want to do something in business marketing. That was like my major and my minor was in marketing. I know I want to do something in business marketing. So my goal was to just graduate and get a good job at a great like sports company, whether it was like the WNBA, the NBA, a sports apparel company, something in sports that married my love for business and marketing. So that was the lane I thought I was going to be in.
It's good. It seems as if hearing you speak about it now, and of course this is all in retrospect, right? Like you're able to reflect on it, but it seemed like you were able to set some goals for yourself. Why do you think that was so important? Even as like, a young adult venturing into the real world, why were those early goals so important for building that journey for you?
Yeah, I was always a goal-oriented person. Like I always knew that I wanted to be successful. I wanted to be able to make money and I just wanted to live a fulfilling life. So I knew like whatever it is that I'm going to be doing, I want to be good at it and I want to be successful. So that's why I quickly changed my major from chemistry because I'm like, oh, I'm not good at this. No, this isn't for me. Like, let's pivot to something else. So like as I, journeyed throughout my sophomore, junior, senior year, like I just continued to make those goals to say, okay, you're going to get a good job. You're going to work for an amazing company, a reputable company. Like I said, I wanted to work for a company that when you told people, it was like, ooh, okay, girl, you did that, So that was just always my goal throughout college was just to graduate and get a good job.
Did you have any insecurities early on? Because I remember me like graduating. It's like the real world isn't always like you kind of think, oh, it's going to be easy. And then you realize, oh, wait, this is kind of hard. What were some of the insecurities that you faced early on in building your career?
Definitely, obviously, with any college student, it's just like, okay, where am I going to work? Like that was something that was definitely on my mind all the time. But I also knew my work ethic and I knew that whatever it is I wanted, I was going to go after. So like even playing a Division I sport, and people who played sports know that Division I is the highest level of collegiate sports. So for me, even playing Division I sports, I still in my junior and senior year got a part-time job because I ultimately knew where I wanted to be. And when I got that job at Under Armour, it was just as a sales associate. But I knew I'm like, okay, if I can work my way in, like I can work for Under Armour. That's such a dope company, especially at the time. Like when I was working there, it was blowing up. It's huge. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to work this job so that I can get a job at corporate at some point. So like it was always my goal of like figuring it out. So even though I was insecure about, okay, trying to find a good job, I knew with my work ethic, I would achieve whatever I put my mind to.
All right, so let's get a little timeline here for our listeners, right? So when did you first get in the door at Under Armour?
So when I was a junior in college,
all right,
they had opened a new store in the area, and they were looking for athletes, of course, because they wanted athletes to be their associates. So they sent a flyer out to our athletic department, like, hey, we're hiring part-time associates for the summer. If any of your athletes are looking for a job, send them our way. So I applied, I got in, of course, and I loved it. And then I kept working throughout the summer of my junior year, going into my senior year. And then I loved the job so much and I knew that, that I ultimately felt that this could be an end goal for me. I stayed with the company because I'm like, okay, if I can stay working here, I get an internship, which I did. Again, like I said, I am so goal oriented that I have always those goals in my mind. So once I was just a part-time associate, I worked my way up to become an intern at the corporate office in Baltimore. Once I got that, I worked my way to be a full-time employee. And that's what brought me from Buffalo to Baltimore. I moved after I graduated from college.
What were you learning about, because Under Armour is such a dope company, right? And especially being an athlete, what were you learning about what you were good at within the corporate world, right? Because I feel like sometimes it's not necessarily the job, but it's the skills that you bring and how you perform in the job. So what were some of your shining moments that you were developing now?
Yeah, I think at that time, I definitely was developing my eye for just creativity, my eye for just like managing such a huge company and business. Obviously, in the corporate world where I was working, at first I worked in sales operations, and that was like dealing with our key accounts. So like how Under Armour showed up in Dick's and Modell's and all of the wholesale places. Mm-hmm. So I helped manage those accounts. And then I eventually went into retail communications, where I managed the communications to all of our 100 plus retail stores. So, I mean, throughout that, I helped groom my communication skills, my eye for creativity and marketing. So
did you feel like this was it for you? Like, did you get this gut feeling like, oh, I found my purpose, or I found my passion?
Well, at the time, I thought I did. I thought as I was working with the company, I thought like that would be the only company I worked for. I was like, I can't even imagine myself leaving, like, unless, I don't even know at the time what company I would have wanted to work for, but I just knew like I loved working within sporting apparel and sports and marketing. I just knew I wanted to work my way in different parts of the company. So I wanted to get into marketing, especially once social media became a thing. Because again, I graduated in 2010. Social media, Instagram, it wasn't all like what it is now.
It was just like the beginning, like the falling off of MySpace, and people had Facebook. What were you really doing on Facebook,
Exactly. It was not the beast that it is now. So like, as I worked there for 8 years. So the latter half of my career, after like, social media and stuff started to take off, I knew I wanted to eventually get into the marketing side of the business, the social media side of the business. So that was where I really wanted to pivot. And then obviously it turned into something else, like another shift in my career.
That's what I was going to say, because the Dayna Bolden today, you would not know that she was not into social media in the beginning. So talk to us about like, what was the origin story? What was that catalyst moment where you started to realize I could use, my own influencing abilities. I can create a brand on the internet and build a life around that. Like, how did that all come to be for you?
Yeah, it's so crazy to think about, because at the time, and I can't even pivot or pinpoint the exact year, but I believe, so my daughter was born in 2012. So maybe around 2014 or 13 or so, I was just like at home. I was bored. I was a new mom. Mm-hmm. I did not really know like what I was doing. I was just like, what am I doing? Like, all I'm doing is working full time, coming home, being with my daughter and my husband. Like, I didn't have any joy outside of my family, like a hobby or anything fun that I could say, oh, I look forward to doing that when I get home. And I remember my husband, he was, playing his video games and playing basketball and doing the things he do. And I'm like sitting around waiting for him to like be my entertainment. And he's like, girl, you need to find a hobby, because I can't be your end all to be all, which, I thank him dearly for saying that. And he was just like, you should find something you enjoy. Like, what else do you enjoy doing? Like, and I'm like, I don't know. And at the time I had transitioned from relaxed hair to natural hair. And I was always online looking for inspiration, like looking for women that looked like me, to see like, ooh, how would I look with this kind of hair? Or, ooh, how will my hair look when I'm completely natural? And I was just always online on social media, looking. And I didn't really see a lot of women that looked like me. So that's when I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe I'll start Instagram page and show other women inspiration of other beautiful natural hair women. I started a community page with one of my friends to show off fashionable natural hair. So that's how I got into the world of Instagram.
And what did you realize? Like, was it a beast? Like, how did you stay in the world, right? Because some people start and they're like, this isn't for me. but how did you know it was something like for you?
I truly was so passionate about showing up for other Black women and showing what I wanted to see, right? Like, again, when I started, I just didn't see other women that looked like me, dark skin, short, natural hair. It was just like, at the time, it was all about the girl. You got the long hair, the natural hair. Everybody wanted their hair to be long, you know, even I wanted my hair to be long. Mm-hmm. But I think for me, it was just the fact that I was being a source of inspiration for other women that really kept me going. And I really found my passion with it. I was like, wow, this is more than just sharing online. This is really impacting other women. And that was the trigger for me. I was like, oh, I want to keep going with this. And I just started showing up consistently. And that's when my personal brand just kind of took off.
Did you know what, I know you were focusing on Black women and creating content for them specifically, but how did you really figure out what was going to be like because you have a marketing background, right? Did you bring that back into the fold and say, all right, we're going to make a plan. I'm going to actually build something from this. Or were you just like, let's see where it goes? Because that's two different things, right? Being intentional about what you're building versus seeing what happens.
Yeah, I think for me, that was one of the reasons why I became so successful in this lane so quickly is because I felt like I had more of a strategy behind when I started. Like when I started, of course, in the beginning, I was just like posting pictures like, oh, okay, whatever. But then I figured out like, okay, I really want to do more. I really want to not only show my natural hair, but show who I am as a woman. And especially when it got to the point. So after, 2 years, 3 years of like really grinding it out consistently, obviously balancing both my full-time job and my growing social media career, I got to the point where I was like, wow, this is actually becoming something. Like I am actually getting paid. Brands are reaching out because at the time I had no idea that I could make money from this, like none, especially back then, because influencer wasn't a term. It wasn't something that people were like making a full-time thing. So for me, I had no idea that this would be something I could make money off of. But once it got to the point where brands were consistently reaching out and I was consistently getting paid and replacing my corporate income, I was like, wow, this is insane. Like this could be actually my job. So that's when it got to the point where I had to make a decision and I quit Under Armour, the job that I thought I was going to be at forever. I got to the point where I was like, girl, you have to just do this. Bet on yourself. Your career, your personal career is growing. You're expanding. You're getting opportunities. You just have to trust that it will continue to flow. And I made that decision, although, my parents were like, girl, why are you about to quit this good job with good insurance? Like, what are you thinking? But I knew I had to do this for me. And literally once I quit, everything just skyrocketed from there. And to tie back into the fact that my business degree and everything, I felt like that gave me the advantage because not only was I just, obviously posting, but I had more strategy behind it. I knew I wanted to incorporate not only my hair, but my lifestyle, who I am as a businesswoman now. I think people followed my journey to say, wow, she had a full-time job that she quit. Wow, she's doing this. And I became a true source of inspiration to women like me. And I think that is what really helps, just jumpstart my career as an influencer full-time.
So this was 2017 when you quit Under Armour, right?
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk. I just want to dive down into a little bit of what you talked about with strategy, right? Because it's easy to say that word, but for some people listening, they may not really know like what goes into developing your strategy. So would you be able to share maybe like a high level, how you thought about what you were going to do? Because that's something that a lot of us are probably stuck in right now. Like, how do you attack?
So for me, I knew like ultimately I wanted to do this full time. So when I was working at Under Armour, I was very strategic and to see, okay, like, first of all, how many opportunities am I getting, right? Mm-hmm. So how much am I making from that? Because I couldn't just quit and then have a plan. So like for 10 or I would say for about 6 months, I just continued to save my money, save, mm-hmm. and also calculated what was coming in, how much was coming in each month. And then once I got to a point where I was consistently bringing in the same, if not more than my full-time job, I knew I got to a place where I could comfortably quit. So I think I saved between $10,000 to $15,000 before I actually quit. because I knew, I'm like, okay, I have this in my back pocket because I don't want to work paycheck to paycheck, especially from an influencer standpoint, because, those checks can come net 30, next 60.
No, right? Like,
I cannot rely on that. So I wanted to make sure I comfortably had a bank of money. And once I got to that point, I was like, okay, I know I can do this. I'm consistently bringing in opportunity. I have a little bit saved. You can do this. That was really it. Like, that was just the strategy behind my quitting, is just like making sure I had some money in the bank and ensuring that I was consistently bringing in work.
All right, so let's talk about 2017. You quit Under Armour. You said the world just opened up for you, right? Yeah. How did Dayna, like, looking back at where you are now and where you were in 2017, what changed? What unfolded? What blossomed for you?
That's a good question. I don't know. I think, honestly, my work ethic just continued to bring in the opportunity. I think people saw my authenticity. They saw the work that I was putting in. They saw like the effort and the creativity that I was putting in consistently. And that just opened up so many opportunities for me. I think just truly being authentic, and brands saw that. And I was just getting opportunities, getting features. People wanted to hear my story because they can simply connect with me. It's like I was literally working a job, desk job, going in every day in corporate. And now I'm doing this full time, supporting my family. And I think that story resonated with so many people. And I think that is what really, really helped like propel my career, because I shared the journey. And I think it's so important for entrepreneurs, people in this space, is to be able to share your journey, be vulnerable, share where you started, share where you want to go, because people can resonate and connect. And it's like every day I'm inspiring somebody with my story.
I struggle with that because I have a podcast, Dreams and Drive, right? And so where I found my gift was in helping other people share their stories, right? And I kind of like being behind the scenes and having you in the spotlight and sharing your story. But when it comes to building the platform, like you said, people want to see, they want to connect with you, right? How did that actually manifest in the types of posts? Like what did you find, like what type of content that you were creating was helping you grow? Because this is called the road to 100K. Because I remember when I first approached you, you had just reached the 100K mark. So what was like the content that you found was your sweet spot?
I think the vulnerable content. First of all, I think once I started to show up consistently on my Instagram stories and showing the imperfect me, like, of course, I can take a pretty picture and post it on Instagram and be like, "Oh, girl, you cute." But it's really those moments where, you're sharing really who you are on the day to day, from, me being a mom, waking up, no makeup on, taking care of my kids, to cooking in the kitchen, to running from that, to going to an interview, to doing multiple photo shoots. I think people really resonated with the fact that, wow, she is real. Like, she is really doing this. And I think it's so important to be able, you don't have to show everything. And it's not like I'm just spilling my whole life over the Instagram every day, but I feel like being able to show who you are, your personality, has really helped me connect. And even in these last 2 months, obviously, we scheduled this podcast. And in the last 2 months of me reaching 100K, when you reached out, it's like, girl, I'm like 120 something K.
122 as this morning when I checked.
Hey, so like that kind of growth within the last 2 months has been more than I've ever experienced in my career of Instagram. And I think a lot of it had to do with Reels. I got really consistent with my Reels, and that has expanded my growth really, really fast. But also putting out, again, relatable, authentic content, because as much as I could post the pretty pictures and as great as those may do, I think that ultimately getting down to like sharing who I am in the captions or sharing who I am on Instagram stories really has resonated with my tribe.
With sharing content, right, and being vulnerable, how do you move past being self-conscious? Because that's something, we were just talking about this in my podcast Mastermind. Like, we all have these ideas, like, we're all moms and we're trying to figure out this new mom life, but it's like we're all scared to post it. Like, will people judge me? What will people think? So what tips might you have for people who are battling that, they have the content, but they're just a little bit self-conscious, or they're thinking too much about what they're doing?
Yeah, we can't overthink it. Overthink it will have you stuck and not doing anything. And for me, I know it's easier said than done, but like I've had the times where it's like, ooh, what are people going to say? Or are they going to judge me? But ultimately, we cannot be so stuck on what others are going to think of us. And I know that's so high school, but it's so true. It's like we can't, because it's just going to hold us back. And for me, I'm like, I don't care. I will get on here without my makeup on and y'all going to get what y'all going to get, because 90% of women are the same way. Like we all are waking up with a face full of beautiful makeup and, hair perfect all the time. And I feel like being able to be vulnerable, especially in the position I am, helps other women feel confident to be vulnerable as well. And I think that's the ultimate purpose for me, is just being able to show other women what's possible and make other women confident and inspired to do what they want to do.
So, on the flip side, right? Because I'm thinking of this interview, like we're going up the roller coaster, right? Where we're going up. But then there's a little like, sometimes when you're like, oh, wait, is this about to break down? What was something you struggled with along the dream driving journey? Maybe you're still struggling with it now. And then how did you fight that? Or how did you overcome it, I should say?
I think naturally as a creative, like there's no one person who's in this space that doesn't get in ruts or doesn't feel unconfident at times. So I definitely, for sure, have had my moments where I'm like, oh my God, I don't even know what to create. I don't want to create. Hell, just yesterday, I'm just like, oh, I don't want to do anything right now, but I know I have to. And I get so much anxiety. I think that's one of the things that, I struggle with. I'm like, maybe I need to get a therapist, but I get so much anxiety when I don't produce. And even when I'm like, I need to take a break, I need to not produce, I get anxiety when I'm not. So it's just like this mental, like, tug of war of like, girl, you need to take a break. But then it's like, ooh, when I take a break, I'm like, oh my God, I haven't posted. I haven't done what I'm supposed to do. Like, I get so much anxiety and I beat myself up if I don't post, if I go like 2 days without posting. And I know that's bad, but I'm like always thinking about how I can be on. And, that's a blessing and a curse. But I think for me, when I get in the moments where I do feel down or I do feel like I get in a rut, I just try to go back to my why. Like, really, why are you doing this? What is going to motivate you and push you? And I think ultimately that is my tribe. That's my community of women who look to me daily to be inspired, or look to me for inspiration or tips and tricks or this and that. And I just go back to like thinking about my why. And that helps drive me, because ultimately, the why isn't the money. The why isn't the fame and all of that. The why is really serving a purpose for my community. And I just go back to that.
You mentioned something that's so interesting, because I feel like we all kind of deal with that whole creative burnout, but at the same time, you are inspired. But when you're inspired, it's like this whole complex of how do you navigate the two. And then on top of it, I had to add that you're a mother of two, right? I am a new mom. So my son Axel now, he's 11 months. And I say, how does anyone have more than one, right? I'm just like, if you have more than one kid, you just must be crazy all the time, because I'm crazy with one kid. Yeah. Adding motherhood on top of this all, like how has motherhood informed the journey now, especially because you have a son now, Bryce. He's young, you have to make sure you're watching him all the time, and he's but how does motherhood now inform your dream driving journey? Because it's tough, girl. I can only imagine. You got two, I got one.
Girl, it's very tough. Every day I'm like, wow, how am I doing this? But motherhood has been such a beautiful blessing. I love being a mom. But I think it has definitely inspired me to go harder, because I want to be able to provide for my kids. Like, I want to be able to provide the best life for them, keep them in college without any stress. If they want to play a sport, they can. If they don't, they got the money to get there. There's no worry. Like, I really want to be able to provide and leave behind a legacy for my kids. So that's been the biggest push. But it is hard. And I don't try to say like, oh, I'm super mom and I do everything. Even though I am a super mom and I wear my super mom shirt proudly from super mom culture that I love, I don't try to act like I'm doing it all of the time. Yes, I work hard, but I have an amazing support system. From my husband to my mother-in-law to my, mom and dad who helps, like, I have a support system that's helping me constantly, and I'm not trying to balance and navigate it all at the same time. So I think that's one of the things I had to learn as a mom and also as a business owner, is that you can't be afraid to ask for help, because we will try to do it all like, oh, I got it. And the next thing you know, you look up and you tired, burned out, can't do anything. And I feel like in order to be good for your family, you have to be good for yourself. And I've adopted that mentality, and I've been asking for help a lot more.
And I think as Black women too, it's something that I'm not saying that comes with the extra burden of being a Black woman, right? But sometimes asking for help can be so hard because sometimes you might feel weak. You might feel like I'm not supposed to complain. But I really love that you're opening up and saying like, you really can't do this alone. And when you try to do it alone, that really does hinder the progress, right? And in talking about doing it alone, something that I know that you have, even just with helping to plan this interview, was a team, right? In order to get to 100K, there were certain things that you had to build along the way. And I would assume that building your team is one of them. Can you talk to us about who's on your team? And then what was your process in really honing in on what the best type of team was for you?
Yeah. So I have an assistant that pretty much helps me with everything from planning to just being there for me with all of my, she's amazing. So I knew that it's so crazy now, like looking at the fact that I have a team, it's like, oh my God, team. Like I remember when I didn't have anybody, it was just me. And I didn't know that I could get to a point where I need a team and I can actually pay people. But I think as I grew and as the money, started to grow, it's like, okay, you literally can't do it all by yourself. Like, just like I said, with my kids, I can't do it all alone. It's like with the business, it's just like a baby. You cannot manage it all by yourself, especially when you get to a certain level. And especially when you want to do more as a business owner, you cannot do more and you don't have help. So I felt like I needed someone that can help me with the little things that I just don't have the time for. And I knew I needed to be able to focus on, I know we all heard of like the zone of genius. Like I knew I needed to focus on what I am good at and hire out for the other things. So I have my assistant. Not only do I have an assistant, but I have a management team. Mm-hmm. So I manage by Kissington Gray Management Agency, and they are amazing. So within that agency, my team, I have my manager that, negotiate my brand deals, do all of my pitching and stuff like that. And then I have a campaign manager. And that person, she manages, like, once the deal is solidified and locked in, she manages the communication between me and the brand, from the scheduling of the content, submitting the content, just a back and forth of all of the details of that. It's like so much that goes into campaigns that people don't realize. It's like, you guys see the pretty picture or video on Instagram, and it's like, behind that, it was a lot of extra steps. So I have a whole person that manages the campaign, and then obviously like lawyers that help with contracts and, all of that stuff. And then on a creative perspective, I have photographers that I work with, videographers that I work with. So it's a whole host of people that I pay on a regular, but it's great and it's helping the business grow.
How does it feel now to be the one paying the bills for others? Like not paying the bills, but also you're paying your bills, but you're also providing income for others. How does that feel?
It is really crazy. So at first it was like a lot of pressure because I'm like, wow, not only am I holding up my household, but also others. So I think it's, it can be a lot of pressure, but I also am very faithful that, God will continue to bless me and my business to where I can take care of my family and, the people that I pay as well. So, it just pushes me to continue to work hard.
Yeah. You mentioned something about your zone of genius, right? What would you describe your zone of genius being now, 2021, Dayna?
2021 for me is definitely obviously the content creation part, like being able to actually create, because I still manage my Instagram and I still, create all of the content, right? So I think being able to sit down and create is my zone of genius. But also my other zone of genius is the brand building. Like, how am I building my brand? How am I building my other brands and my other goals that I'm working on? And those are like my key focuses right now, from Define Bold Fitness to the other brands, my book with my daughter. Like, how am I continuously producing products that will, survive in this market and that will thrive? So that's my other one.
I want to ask you that because I know there's people listening in who probably are in this brand building stage and trying to figure out what are like the top 3 things that if you're building a brand now, 2021, because I definitely was different when you first started, right? Things that you see from the market, trends that you see, things that content creators really need to be on top of if they want to be on this road to 100K like you were.
I would say definitely first off, figure out what is your purpose? What is your why? What product, like whatever it is that you're putting out, whether it's a product-based business or you just want to be an influencer, like what is the purpose of it? Like what is going to draw people in? And I think having clear purpose and why or a mission is just going to set the tone for the rest of your business. And then once you have that, really trying to figure out like the brand part, because I think that was big for me.
That's tough. It's a tough. You mean brand as in brands, or brand as in your personal brand?
A personal brand, like the branding of who you are, like who are you and how are you going to present yourself to the world. And I think for me, that was one of the things that stood out, because a lot of people, when they, starting on Instagram, they were just, posting willy-nilly, whatever. But for me, I wanted to have a plan, a strategy. What is the Dayna Bolden brand? What are you going to stand for? How does it look? How do you make people feel? Like answering all those questions early off when building the brand is really going to set you apart from everybody else that's doing it.
Yeah, no, those are all really good tips. And then the reason why I said brands is because I think another big thing is if you want to be an influencer, content creator, and you want to make money, right? Because that's also another thing. You could do this all just for fun, or you could do it to build a business. What's something that you learned when it comes to working with brands? Because, right now, just to give people just some history. So right now, I used to do Dreams and Drive full time. Then I went back into 9 to 5. So I work now in sponsorship marketing at Viacom CBS. So it's interesting to see brand deals now from like a corporate side. So I'm like, it can be tough, but at the same time, it's really all about like who's top of mind, right? Who's the one negotiating for you on your behalf? And what are you presenting? What are you bringing to the table? So when you're in your experience as an influencer, I know you have a team now who does it, but what are some tips you can give to some aspiring influencers to not give up on the brand partnership? Because some people might just say, oh, it's not for me. I'm not big enough. I'll never get it. And they'll just never try for it. But what's something that you might say to those people?
It's definitely money and room out here for all of us, for sure. There's so many brands. There's so many tiers of what brands are looking for. They may be looking for micro influencers with, 5,000 followers to 10,000 followers. My first brand deal, I had like 4,000 followers. Mm-hmm. And that's when I was like, oh, shoot, they paying for it. But obviously, I know it has changed. And, sometimes brands are looking for, that $1 million girl or that 100K girl. But I think for me, I was able to comfortably make money consistently, even when I had 20,000 followers. And that still may sound like a lot for some people, but again, it's still very doable to make money. And what I would say is that you have to be able to comfortably share your brand story. That is the key. And that is why I've been able to consistently land brand deals, is because brands can see themselves in my brand story. If you are not sharing who you are, if you are not able to say like, hey, if you're a beauty blogger and you're not sharing makeup comfortably, then nobody is going to reach out to you. How are you going to want to be a beauty blogger and you're not comfortably sharing your skincare routine or your makeup routine or, your brand story? So I feel like with everything that you do, if you want to start to get paid for it, you have to be able to comfortably share that brand story so that when a brand look at your page, you're like, wow, I could see my lipstick on her counter because she's showing how she, 10 different shades of red. I could see my red in there. Like if you're not doing that, and I think even for me as a mom, I'm sharing my life as a mom, as a business owner, I'm sharing my life as a business owner. So it's no surprise when you see me with these partnerships, working with business brands. I got a big deal with Capital One that, that was a business move, or I get some deals with Foresee, like that's a family and lifestyle brand. So it's like, brands are able to see themselves in my brand story. And I think the way that you're able to get paid is if you're comfortably able to consistently share your brand story.
Would you do anything differently now that, we've reflected on your dream driving journey, where you've gone, how you've gone about it? Is there something like if you could reverse, right, and maybe take a different lane or maybe try something else or maybe wait for something, what would that be?
I definitely say I wish I would have started sooner. I wish I would have probably started like other platforms sooner, because I feel like, like a YouTube, I'm like, damn, I wish I would have jumped on YouTube back then and like got on that. But I feel like ultimately within what I've been doing, I'm glad with the lane I've taken. I think probably if I would have did anything else, maybe I wouldn't be here. So I'm really grateful for where I am. But if I had to say, if I could do something else, I would have jumped on Instagram and all of this stuff even sooner, because there's a lot of people that's been out here that's way further, so.
Yeah. But it's all about, like, you don't know. I always tell people, like, you never know what they did or what their bumps were and then how it compares to you. So girl, you killing it. You're killing it, and you're inspiring people. Something that we're all dealing with right now is COVID-19, this global pandemic, and how it's really shifted in us a lot of things. How has the pandemic affected how you have approached business? Has it made things better? Like, not better, but you know what I mean? Like, how has it really kind of impacted you now as an influencer and your approach to how you do your work? Like the trips and like events now, like who's doing in-person events? And that could have been, I know you used to do like the, what was the name of it? You had an in-person, was it like a concert? Yes. So how has that really shaped how you approach things now?
Obviously, we all know we sat down for the last year. But thankfully, and I'm just so blessed, I thank God every day that in 2020 was still my best year. Of all 4 years I've been in business, 2020 was my best year. And then now even 2021 is shaping up to be even better than last year. So like literally every year I've been able to grow, and my revenue has grown even in a global pandemic. So I think for me, I'm grateful for the fact that I could work from home. And at the end of the day, brands are always going to need marketing. Like I'm in this great position where, sometimes I hear, influencer marketing is dying. It is not going anywhere. Like brands are always going to need to spread their message in some shape, form, or fashion. And whether they're using influencers or they're using TV commercials, like TV commercials have been out since how long? It's always going to be a way that a brand wants to spread their message. So I think I'm in a great position. But I think for me, what I've learned is that I want to continue to produce things outside of just me. Like I want to be able to create product or be able to monetize outside of me working, if that makes sense. I want to work.
Like passive income type of stuff? Is that what you mean?
Yes. Okay. I want people to not have to work to make money. Because right now it's like, okay, I got to either show up on Instagram. I got to, either go to events or do this or that. But like I'm in a mode now where I want to build businesses and brands, which I have one, which is my children's book with my daughter. Mm-hmm. But I want to continue to build brands that don't necessarily need me to show up every single day to promote it or to share in order to make money. So like, that's my biggest goal. And that's my biggest like outlook that I've seen with the pandemic and how I want to continue to shift my brand.
Yeah. That's like the catch-22, right? Because you kind of need yourself in the beginning to build it. And then it's like you can step away from it once it's built. So it's hard because in some people who are building brands where they're not the face of it, there's a whole different challenge there too. So I can feel you on that one because it must be tough sometimes. Like you said, like you don't want to always have to be creating content and you get anxiety sometimes when you're not always doing it. So what if you didn't have to? Or what if there was other people who could be, not saying no one will ever be Dayna Bolden, but there can be like, for your fitness brand, there can be other people coming in and they're kind of being the face of Dayna Bolden Fitness or whatever you're doing on that front. So it's something we're all struggling with.
Mm-hmm. And that's the goal. And not only just having my brands as well, I want to get into just learning more about investments and real estate investments and just like other things outside of the creative space. I want to get into that as well. So just really building legacy for my family is something I've really been big on in the last year.
No, that I was going to ask you, like, what's next, right? Because it's like, do you foresee yourself doing the strictly influencer marketing for the long run? Will it always be part of your, your story, your architecture? Or do you, like you said, maybe one day you won't be always posting on Instagram, or this won't be your main primary driver. Like, what's next? How do you foresee the dream driving journey unfolding in the future?
I definitely see I will be a multimillionaire.
Yes.
And, already claiming that. And that's going to be through like my investments, real estate, and also having my multiple brands that I'll be able to build and run and have people running those as well. Mm-hmm. There's always going to be a Dayna Bolden brand because it's just going to be me naturally being the woman that I am, being the business owner, being the wife, the mom. So I'll always be like a public figure per se, but I don't know if I'll necessarily always have to show up as a quote unquote influencer. Naturally, I'll be able to do it. Like if brands reach out and I want to do it, but I think ultimately, my long-term goal is to have my multiple brands and multiple investments. That's just, keeping me afloat, making me millions.
So looking back, right? Like what do you think, if I had to say, what was the dream that you took out of Park and into Drive? How would you describe that? Like, what was that dream for you?
I think that dream was to be able to show up as the beautiful, confident Black woman that I am and be a source of inspiration for not only my daughter, because that was another reason I wanted to start, but just for other women. Like, I feel like growing up, there wasn't that many women that looked like me. And even now, there still isn't that many. It's getting better, but I just really feel like my dream was to always be just the confident Black woman and showing other Black women to live and, pursue their passion and goal within their confident selves. And I think that was the dream I ultimately took out of Park, because even as a little girl, I always kind of wanted to model, but then I kind of fell into the sports thing. But then it's like, wow, that was something I really did want to do. And now it's like actually something I'm doing on my own terms. I've modeled a few times and I kind of sort of model every day on Instagram.
You are a model. You a model times two, okay?
So I think that's ultimately the dream I took out of Park, was just like, being able to be myself, show who I am, and do that confidently every single day and show other women that they can too.
All right. And if you can't be a dream driver without your keys to success, right? So what are 3 things that you think every dream driver needs in their toolkit before they hit the road?
You need confidence, for sure. You need confidence in yourself, because again, you can't do anything if you don't believe. And then you just have to have faith in God that He's going to continue to lead you on this beautiful journey, and just know that what is for you will always be for you. And I would say the third thing is work ethic and drive. No point intended, but
you really need the drive in order to put the dream into drive, right?
Like, I feel like, you have to be able to match all of the efforts with the work. Like, you want these goals, you want to have this, you want to have that, but you have to match it with the work. So I would definitely say work ethic.
All right. So Dayna, this has been such an amazing interview. Thank you so much for coming on. Can you tell our dream drivers where they can connect with you online, if they want to see what you're about, if they want to help you get to 200K, let us know.
Please follow me if you enjoy this podcast at Dayna Bolden on Instagram. I just started my TikTok. I'm getting over on there. I'm trying to grow that as well. And then my website, daynabolden.com. And just let me know you heard me on the Dreams and Drive podcast and what you enjoyed the most.
All right, so that's a wrap for episode 276 with Dayna Bolden. I hope you enjoyed hearing her dream driving journey as well as her keys to success. Remember, if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your community. You can find us across the board, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Dreams and Drive, and use that hashtag Dreams and Drive when sharing as well. If you're new to the show, please make sure that you're subscribed so that you can get notifications every time we have a new episode. And also remember, guys, if you need more advice, if you love Dayna's story, we have over 270 episodes that you can go back and listen to, range of topics. One of my favorites is episode 145 with Jennifer Lewis. She's somebody who I admire, and hearing her journey about her road to happiness is one that I think you guys need to listen to right now. If you haven't heard it, that's episode 145. And if you want to get our weekly newsletter, The Keys, delivered to your inbox, just sign up at dreamsanddrive.com/join. That's dreamsanddrive.com/join. I can't wait for you all to hear next week's episode. As I promised, we're going to be having a new episode every Monday for the rest of the year. Keep dreaming, keep driving, and we'll chat again in episode 277. Bye, guys.